It says live on YouTube. Oh, really? Why? Why do we want to do that? Why do we have you in control right now? Awesome. Okay. Do you want me to claim host now so we don't? Let's just do that now. I've got host, recorded, paused, and call me. Awesome. Thanks, Katie. You're the best. Bye. I mean, she just kept working on stuff and just got it done.
Okay.
So I know. Thank you. This is a new piece. So we have now implemented more security measures.
That's what I watched the wedding.
Oh, the clock is 200.
Let's put it on mute.
removing it now.
What service are you guys using?
So we are on Zoom, but we have not shared that link, and it's all going to the YouTube.
That's what we do.
Cool. This is our first time trying this.
It works well.
Yeah.
It does. And
Yes.
I remember when Jim started and
Okay.
Do,
Yeah, we quickly started using it.
do you like the nameplates? Do you see the nameplates?
It's too hard to if you want to include
Over the podium.
cards and
Hey,
No, no, on the
because
podium. Yeah. Yeah.
Sal, do you have a pen?
Mayor.
Blackie might
Give her.
Joya, do you mind if I
Oh, please do.
I think we can just get a tight shot and bring it in.
You got it.
Okay, bye.
So that it's more.
Totally like me.
I want to get a tight shot. Mostly people want to see the speakers.
Oh, you kicked him over here.
Yeah, but I think in the shade here is actually a good lighting. There we go.
Whatever you.
Do you ever pray for that headstone yet? Do you ever pray for that headstone yet?
No,
But we'll know this time to take care of it sooner rather than.
it was harder last time. It was harder last time.
Just
Just
use
simple.
this side and make it.
Make a song and dance out of it. I'm gonna make a song and dance out of it. Is it tacky to show Evan that I had sing right now?
What?
I want to show you something.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna go look at the funny one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, come on, I want to stand up.
Certainly before mine.
Oh my gosh. I bet Jane would have an idea.
Is this a kiddish cup on the back?
No, it's a drum.
on YouTube because I'm not English. Shoot restrictions. Well, so Joy, this is recording. So that
Yes, yes. So I'll do the facility afterwards. And I can also convert it and have people
You're right. After you spend your 3 years.
it just allows so I can send
But then it's
also just as a backup have an audio just in case. Whatever you would like as far as when it's and then I also run water. Does anyone need water? I wish they're really cute. Are they also very comfy? That's good. Yeah, they're really cute.
Standard. Are we going to go together?
it's an interesting video. Yeah. It looks very portable. Yeah. Can we all scooch like 5 inches back just for backwards? Yeah. Just don't hit the camera. What? Oh no, it's not. It's totally over your head. A bald spot or am I okay? What? A bald spot or am I okay?
Say hello and then get started. We did not see that.
Oh yeah, I still am. Still am. So
Yeah.
one time Allie had gone down to Florida with the kids ahead of me, and he went and climbed a tree and had fire ants.
Ooh.
And
Didn't we once do that too?
what?
There was
Fire?
some palm trees that were covered in fire ants and we
Oh.
almost find them.
Yeah.
We realized.
Yeah. Yeah. At that cool beach.
Yes, I got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is that what you do?
It's newer, but it's off the rack. It's not a custom. This was when I got it. Black sea. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna,
You got a good mouse sound?
That's what those are for?
that's what tries to for and screen.
Whoa!
Oh, yes.
Those things are so. And then I'll have to do the same.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a, and then it kind of folds in on itself and goes all inside the box.
Is your phone off?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you don't have your phone on?
No.
נפשי ישובר, ישובר, ינחני במעברי צדק, ינחני במעברי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגט המוות, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. ארוך וחנן, שולחן נגד צוררם, וישענתך בשלושים רגעים.
Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Yerachem av al banim, rechem Adonai al yire'av, ki hu yada yitzreinu, zachur ki afar anachnu, enosh kechatzir yamav ketzitza sadeh, ken yatzitz ki ruach habrabo ve'enenu lo yakirenu od mikomo, v'chesed Adonai me'olam ve'ad olam al yire'av v'tzikato livnei banim. As a father has compassion for his children, the Lord has compassion for those who show reverence. God knows that we are fashioned. God remembers that we are but dust. The days of mortals are like grass. They flourish as the flowers of the field. A wind passes over them, and they are no more, and no one can recognize where they grew. But the Lord's compassion is everlasting. God's kindness to children's children, to all the reverent ones, endures age after age, unchanging. Rabbi Kumar.
I want to thank Rabbi Dallin and Cantor Green for being here today to support our faith. And I welcome those viewing the services from afar. We send our love to you and wish you could be with us. The Torah teaches us that human beings were created in the image of God, that God formed us out of the dust of the earth and breathed into us, Nishmat Chaim, the truth, the breath of life. It comes to teach us that all of us are part earth and part divine. Part of us lives on, and part of us returns to the earth from where we came. We gathered today to lovingly return Howard Sasson's body to the earth, because it is the way that we show respect and kindness to our loved ones. And we gather to honor his memory and those parts of him that live on. The Torah also says that humanity was placed on earth le'ovdo le'shomro, to work it, and to care for it. And I believe that Howard Sasson embraced that mission, to work in this world, to do his best, to do his part, to be a productive human being who was of worth to others through his service. And so I'll speak a little bit more later, but I want to invite Melanie and Evan to speak. And I don't know, we haven't chosen an order, do you?
These were what my father used to, when he was speaking, he would have these in front of him. And on the back side, it says smile when you're speaking. So we're smiling. It's 85 degrees in Florida. I'm still here. Maybe you too have gotten an email from my father. It may have been a joke or 10, or maybe. I've been looking at buying insert random technology device here. I've looked at Google, Consumer Reports, Yelp, the Better Business Bureau, the Florida Department of Consumer Affairs, and the Industrial Arts Old Boys Network. It has 3,000 reviews. I'm an excellent researcher. I was a professor at City College for 30 years. Then tomorrow, an email would say, I found a bad review, forget about it. There were also frequent emails to Jeff Bezos at Amazon and Brian Roberts at Comcast about one thing or another. But also, our father predated Melanie with the weather, but ostensibly to let her know that he was still there. He had a library of graphics on his computer that would say thank you in 10 languages to send to people, or just holiday greetings. Howard Sasson was born on March 1935 in Brooklyn to Eli and Peggy Sasson, and was joined a few years later by his sister Sandra. We spent a lot of time with Grandma Peggy Name's family in Brooklyn. There were many Passover Seders with Uncle Ray and Aunt Millie's family, with Aunt Helen and Uncle Sam, and so many of those traditions have been passed on. Melanie and I have memories of visiting our great-grandma, whose name was Tara Naham. But Dad, when he was growing up, couldn't say Tara, so he said Tata, and that's how we knew her. Aunt Adele, Peggy's youngest sister, was closest in age to Dad, and they had a very special relationship. The names had a store in Agunkwood, Maine, and we would visit during our early summers. We learned about Kennebunkport and the Marginal Way. I might be making this up, but in my memory, I saw Rocky and Jaws at a drive-in theater there. He was very proud of his Syrian Sephardic heritage. If you never heard him read Hebrew, he had a very unique accent. Many of the Syrian dishes that he grew up with, we still love today. Spinach pie and majedra, and kibbeh, which are meat-filled pastries shaped like torpedoes, which we had when we visited family. When the kids were small, he asked that they call him Jiddah, because that was what he called his grandfather. Dad didn't play the customary role necessarily at home when we were growing up. Since he was a college professor, he didn't have a typical schedule, so it was Mom who left the house early, and Dad got us off to school. We remember him brushing our hair in the morning, possibly putting a dress backwards for school pictures. He drove carpool for school. Sometimes when you're at a funeral, someone describes their dad as a lion with an outsized personality, or they grew a successful business or something like that. No one would have talked about Dad like that, but he worked hard. In addition to teaching City College for over 30 years, Dad worked for various vocational agencies and colleges across New York State on their electronics curriculum. It wasn't something that I think Melanie and I realized at that time. We didn't know the sacrifices that it took for us to be at camp for all those summers, or graduate college without loans. Mom and Dad even worked at camp one year to make it happen, and while Mom loved it, Dad did not like being a bookkeeper for a summer. Did you know he wrote books? In 1966, he wrote the manuscript for the New York City Board of Education for Electricity Electronics for intermediate schools, which was published in several editions. We found a proposal he wrote from 1989 addressing the major defense industry cuts on Long Island, coupled with the lowering of East-West tensions. He was suggesting that these thousands of skilled workers could be trained to address the shortage of vocational teachers in the area. At what point he might have been considered an early adopter. We had computers in our house back when I was in elementary school. One of my 5th grade reports was the first for my teachers to be done on a PC. We were always the ones that printed the 6-foot-long banners printed on continuous feed paper wishing a happy birthday. After retirement, he became a snowbird, summering up north, first in White Plains and then the Berkshires, going to Tanglewood and Jacob's Pillow. During winters in Florida, he would be at FAU as a lifelong learner or seeing live shows. Joyce was his companion later in life, sharing these experiences and traveling. Even though more recently, when his ability to travel became more limited, he took our families on a cruise when the kids were small and Clubman in Florida a few years ago, which created quality time for him and many memories for the kids. Dad was a planner, which I've picked up from him, from when we grew up to recently, things like these trips we planned to a T. But I don't think it was a compulsive trait that he had, but more of taking the burden of planning from others. Dad died the way he lived, by his pre-planned rules. He knew that however he was going to go, he did not want to be a bother, and he did not want to suffer like those closest to him had. We are thankful that we were able to share this final week with him. He knew what was happening, and he would joke with us. For instance, Dad, is there something I can get for you? And he would say, an envelope of $10 bills, or give a thumbs up. While he was not the best communicator, we know he cared for us in his own way. Thank you.
So awkward giving hugs in COVID time. As a retired college professor, my dad often reminded me of the power of research, being right, and his expertise in pretty much everything. Here are a few things I've learned from my dad. 1, if it's worth buying one of something, it's worth buying 10. We found 37 pairs of glasses and at least 15 each of back scratchers, flashlights, lanyards, whistles, and toolkits when we organized his house these past few weeks. He had 20 of the same black t-shirt and khaki pants hanging in his closet and a belt on each pair of pants. He had shoes in boxes that were yet unopened. I liked them, so I ordered a backup pair. He was raised in a Depression-era home. It was about security. He never wanted to run out of anything. 2, be on time. Our dad took an immense amount of pride in showing up on time, pulling into a parking lot or a friend's driveway, looking at the clock and stating, Sasson standard time. If you're going to do something, do it right the first time. In other words, he would say, measure twice, cut once. He had high standards and expectations of himself and those around him. 4, take pride in your name. He loved being a Sasson, Sasson. He liked being a professor and a doctor, but his favorite name of all was Jida to his 6 grandchildren. 5, how to organize an essay. He taught me, tell them what you're going to say it, then tell them what you said. Number 6, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. Number 7, be on time, just a reminder. 8, value tradition. Buy new shoes for Passover and Rosh Hashanah. Go out for ice cream when Passover ends. Cousins and friends still remember meaningful Passover seders at our home. My mom worked her tail off to make it happen, and he took pride in leading very thorough seders. To him, religious school was more important than any other after-school activity and took priority on our family schedule. Number 9, sing in the car. He loved the Weavers, Army songs, opera, Broadway tunes, and James Taylor. Number 10, research, research, research. 11, don't carry debt. Pay off your credit card every month. Dad would actually check and print up his credit score monthly, sometimes more. He took great pride in being well rated. 12, the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body, so therefore lefties are always in the right of mind. A family joke, since Evan, Dad, and I are all left-handed. 13, be a lifelong learner. When Dad moved to Florida in retirement, he took classes at FAU for many years. He enjoyed studying about opera, politics, and art with his cousins Jack and Judy and his lady friend Joyce. 14, sleepaway camp is the best place to be. He taught us camp is the only place designed in the world solely for kids to be happy. I didn't know about Disney until later in life. 15, be close with your brother. He's all you'll have in the end. My relationship with Evan is strengthened by my relationship with my dad. We understand one another in ways nobody else can. 16, man plans and God laughs. Dad had a painting with the saying on his wall and passed it to Evan and family years ago. It was a constant reminder we are not in control, even if we think we are. Number 17, my dad was a man who loved his kids and grandkids more than anything else. This is the most important part of his legacy. Dad loved Allie and Solomon, Jacob, Asher, and Remy, Hannah, Micah, and Kobe deeply, yet quietly. He showed his love in the ways he knew how. He looked forward to Hannah and Micah's weekly Shabbat Shalom calls and would have jokes on hand to share with them. He never had much to say except for a weather report and Shabbat Shalom. He enjoyed hearing from them so much, though. When the kids were away at sleepaway camp, he would mail comic strips to them. In fact, he put them in envelopes at the beginning of the summer and just know to mail them once a week. He took our families on some fantastic vacations, and these are places of our fondest memories. He looked for ways to connect with the kids. It wasn't always easy for him, but he tried. And number 18, to round it out for Chai, be on time. We arrived at the cemetery 30 minutes early today. Dad was already here. He'd be pleased. Dad had several relationships in his life that were over 70 years old, from his childhood friends, Mo and Mayor, to professional colleagues like Stan and Manny, and his dear friend Sue. Dad kept up with people on email and phone. I did not realize how much his professional connections meant to him and how esteemed he was as a friend and mentor until these past few weeks. Dad, you planned for your end of life quite well. I give you an A++. You did your research, you had very clear wishes, you passed quickly, comfortably, and peacefully with your affairs in order and your children at your side. May you continue to journey with our blessings.
Evan mentioned the papers that we found. They brought back some binders that he had meticulously saved a lot of his professional work in. We found a commencement speech that he gave in 1988. Dr. Howard Sasson was honored as the commencement speaker for the graduating class of the Bramson Technical Institute, a technical college started by Jewish philanthropists looking to educate refugees and immigrants who were seeking in America. He opens his address about what it takes to give a good speech. If you want to be heard, speak loudly and articulately. If you want to look well, stand tall. If you want to be appreciated, be brief. I will try to take his advice and be brief. When Melanie was preparing to return to Denver after her father's passing, she asked me if there was anything of his stuff that he wanted, that I wanted. As she mentioned, he had a lot of things. And the one thing that came to mind was that I wanted some of his tools. He had all kinds of interesting old tools. I don't know what I'll do with them, but it reminded me that he was a fixer. He wanted to fix things. He believed that any challenge in life, any problem could be solved. His forceful and stubborn personality came from the belief that if you only applied enough knowledge, expertise, ingenuity, and effort, you could bend the world to your will and make it right. There is, of course, folly in this belief, and he was not one to accept that some things can't be fixed, but he certainly tried very hard. He was a man of integrity. In his commencement speech, he gives some advice to the young graduates. He says, education is more than just the accumulation of knowledge. All the people who've gotten this world into the mess it's in are well-schooled, but they have no character and little integrity. Integrity is the bottom line in our dealing with ourselves, with friends and family, in the business world, and in society in general. We must be honest without hurting people in all our dealings, and we must expect integrity from those we deal with and those that serve us in government. You know, some people define integrity as being the same on the outside as you are on the inside. He expected from himself: excellence, hard work, dedication, loyalty. And he was hurt when he felt slighted. But he held himself to the same consistent standard that he held for other people. He was coping with the chaotic. His way of coping with the chaotic and broken world was to apply rules. He developed for himself these rules and he lived by them. Just as Evan and Melanie hard, he also followed the right etiquette, showed up on time, which meant, of course, 18 minutes early, to high standards, because he believed in other people's capacity to be excellent. In his speech to the Ort graduates, he invokes wisdom that he learned from his friend Larry, he mentions. I take it that's Larry. He says, anything worth doing is worth doing well. And that you should never attach your name to anything that isn't the best that you can do. This gives you a sense of value of yourself and others a sense of how good you really are. Whether you're an electric technician, an ophthalmic technician, a paralegal, a data processor, a real estate salesperson, be the best you can be every single day. Others will respect and appreciate you, and you can rightly have a great deal of self-respect, and your life will be better for it. I think that in his ways he strived to live by this wisdom. He tried to be the best he could be, tried to always improve himself and do things better. He was proud of his work and he was passionate about solving very practical problems. He was an exceedingly practical person. Having grown up in the Depression era and in a difficult family situation, he sought out a career that was also practical and useful. He wanted to be of service. He was a person of great intelligence and achievement, but he also worked with his hands. He believed that he could improve the lives of working class people and uneducated immigrants through technical and vocational education. He applied the same values in his life. I remember he decided to get married. She told me I had to ask her dad for permission, which felt quite old-fashioned to me, and I remember bristling at the idea. His approval. I was a struggling, underemployed grad school dropout with big ideas and big dreams, but little direction and even fewer resources. Melanie was his little girl, and what he was concerned with, husband took care of her in the way that he would. I had to work hard to earn that trust. Nonetheless, he saw potential in me, and he saw how much we loved each other. He must have believed that I would make something of myself because he blessed our marriage. He has been over the years exceedingly generous with us, even if his kindness came with strings attached. His expectations were part of how he showed his love and concern. He was exceedingly proud of Evan and Melanie. He took great in their accomplishments and achievements. And he loved our children in his ways. They called him Jidda, the Arabic word for grandfather, in honor of his Syrian Sephardic heritage. He didn't often know how to relate to small children, and having them in his house with all those delicate knickknacks made him nervous. So he would generously pay for all of us to go on vacation together to the Berkshires or on a cruise or a resort, sit and watch the children playing. His children and grandchildren enjoy themselves and thrive as people gave him great pride and joy. He didn't always know how to show it, but he loved us all very much. Lord Sasson was a person who strived to be good. He was a man of talent and integrity, a man who was rooted in his values and belief. He took care of his family and loved his children and grandchildren. May his memory continue to be a blessing. May he now rest in peace. And let us say amen. The burial of our loved ones is a mitzvah that is incumbent on us, not to be done by someone else, but to engage in our own hands in the sacred ritual that shows respect to our loved ones. So we'll call forward the family, our family, to engage, to do this mitzvah. I'm gonna lower the casket. Yeah. You know what? Why don't you help on the end and I'll Howard Sasson go into his resting place. practice to wait till the end to fill it? Do you wait till the end to fill?
Yes.
Okay. So that we see the Kriya. Jim, do you have Kriya ribbons? Thank you. Blessed are you, our God, the judge of truth. God's name be praised forever.
Shilama alot, Esa Enai, El Harim, Ein Yado Ezri. Dream Adonai Ose Shemai Ma'aretz. Al Yiten Lamot Raglecha Yanum Shomrecha. Yinei Lo Yanum Velo Yishan Shomer Yisrael. Adonai Shomer Adonai Tilcha Ayah. Yomam Hashemesh Velo Yachek. Adonai Yishmacha Mikra Yishlecha. Shmartek Yintcha Yisrael. I turn my eyes to the mountains from where my help comes. My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Adonai will not let your foot give way, your guardian will not slumber. The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm and guard your life. The Lord guards your going, coming now and forevermore. Okay, we'll do the Kaddish together. Really cool. eternal hope. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. Let us say, Amen.
Are people still on?
Yes and no, Rabbi.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us. Take care.
Rabbi.
Of education. So he was a